Well, a good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you are in the world, whatever the time is, wherever you are. Here in Western Australia, we're looking at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. It's an interesting day, actually, here as far as temperature goes. It's been stinking hot because summer has finally kicked in, and we've been going well into the like 38, 39 degrees Celsius. Yesterday, I think it went up to 41 or 42. So we're talking really stinking hot. But today it's overcast, which is actually really interesting. But I woke up and it was very humid. So it's a whole different day. The air conditioner's really getting a workout. But anyway, I'm going to crack on. Before I get into the content today, just a reminder, thank you to the new subscribers. I really appreciate your subscriptions because it lets me know that the content that I'm putting out there is something that you actually value, which is great because this is a bit of a one-sided conversation for me when I make these videos. And I never really know if people are actually getting the content that they're looking for, or anything like that. So I welcome your comments, your feedback, your thoughts. I don't believe in negative feedback because I believe all feedback is positive, even if it's negative or critical. I mean, the delivery doesn't have to be toxic or nasty, but even if it was, it would just be like water off a duck's back for me. I'd just go, well, each to their own, as you do. But in the meantime, I wanted to say, look, today I'm not going to go into any particular yarning type stories. I am going to give you a little experience that I had the other day. But this is mainly a channel update today. And this is because we're coming to the end of 2024. And it's now a prime opportunity to start thinking about what we're doing, where we're going, where we've been, how we're going to approach the new year, the energy of the new year when it comes in. So that's the focus for today's video. Now, did I say thank you to people returning and old? I can't remember. If you're a returning visitor, as always, thank you very much. If you're a new member, well, I don't have membership on the channel. Let's just say new subscriber. Okay, I said thank you to you guys. Let's crack on. Please say hello. Let me know how you're going. Let me know what's happening in your part of the world. So for me, it is just the same old, carrying on, busy, working on the content for the channel. Of course, we're coming to the end of the year. As I said, that kind of influences what we're doing and how I approach my work. And, if you're the type of person that celebrates Christmas, obviously we're all consumed with preps for Christmas and what we're going to be doing with our families and that kind of thing. And for some people, we're going to be spending it on our own. If you're going to be spending it on your own, can I encourage you actually to celebrate it alone? Okay, it's fine to be alone, but make the day special for you. And by that I mean, quite often people that are on their own, they won't go out and buy themselves a treat or anything like that. Buy yourself a treat, buy yourself a Christmas present. If you're not going to be able to spend it with family, buy yourself something that you like to eat, that special treat for Christmas Day, so that you have your own internal celebration. And that can be, we've got to have a sense of humor about these things. It can actually just be a celebration, me, myself and I, that kind of thing, with your guides, with your angels or whatever. Just an acknowledgement in gratitude. But speaking about gratitude and blessings, this is all I'm going to be talking about with the Chitter Chatter today. If you're a regular to the channel and you've watched the yarning videos before, certainly in the earlier days, you will notice that I quite regularly refer to birds and animals actually that end up in my garden. And this is because I see them as messengers. I pay attention to what is referred to as animal medicine or animal symbolism. And for me, what happened the other day, and I really, I feel very blessed by this, is I actually managed to see a wedge-tailed eagle. Now, I've seen plenty of them throughout my life when I'm living in the remote areas and that kind of thing, but they're not a usual occurrence over the Perth sky, on the skyline. So, to see one, they're so distinctive in the way they fly and the way they soar that you can actually spot them. So it was quite a distance away from me, but it's a real blessing to actually have seen it. And the animal medicine with the wedge-tailed eagle is actually quite involved. I'll share it with you. But the first thing that I'll share with you is that I remember the first time I became aware of wedge-tailed eagles. I mean, look, we go to school the same as everybody. You get your class lessons and they exist and all the rest of it, but most people don't interact with a lot of the native flora and fauna because they're just not in the urban areas. But anyway, so the first time I had a close interaction with one, I happened to be in a park in a remote area. I was in the goldfields, which is their habitat. There's a lot of them there. And I happened to be at a park where there was a lot of ducks and swans and that kind of stuff. And it was a real awareness moment for me because everything was so peaceful and beautiful. You know what it's like when you're at the park and you've got the water and the wind whistling through the tree leaves and all that kind of stuff, and you just hear it. You become one with nature. And then all of a sudden, all the ducks, all the birds, all start squawking crazily. And I'm looking at them thinking, what's going on? You can see it's almost pure panic across the pond. And they're all shuffling off wherever. So eventually, I was looking around thinking, is there a cat? Is there a dog? And then I turned my eyes upwards and I saw the eagle. I saw the wedgie that was up there, and breathtaking because they're just so majestic. Once you've seen them, you can't take your eyes off them. But certainly when they're in hunt mode, if I was a bird or a duck, I can understand why they were as upset as what they were. But anyway, getting back to this, yes, I recognised it in the Perth sky, even though it was quite a distance away. And I managed to actually spend some time just watching it doing its soaring. It was definitely in hunt mode. So I'm not going to focus so much on the hunt mode because, everybody gets distressed, even though it's nature, we don't really want to talk about the hunting part of it. But anyway, the messages that are of the wedge-tailed eagle is actually really quite important, and I felt to be relevant to me, okay, because it does talk about the message of the wedgie is about persecution and the importance of having an ego as far as putting a value on yourself, but also rising above it. And when I talk about that persecution aspect, it's about being misunderstood by other people, or even potentially persecuted, targeted. And now that is something that relates to me. If you're not aware, and I'm not sure if even if the repeating visitors are aware of this story, because I may not have actually disclosed it on here. Part of the reason why I'm doing the YouTube channel is a redirection. Life is funny, it's very cyclical. And so I came into my spiritual stuff about year 2000. And then probably, I think it was 2013, I started doing formal studies again. I wanted to get a mainstream qualification, and that was when I studied my Bachelor of Social Work. Now, what happened was I was working with people with disability, and I recognised there was a situation, well, more than one, but there was one particular case of neglect of one of the clients. And I tried to address it in a non-threatening way, but it backfired on me big time, okay? Because when people, they've got this attitude of kill or be killed, and so to actually have highlighted that there'd been this really bad thing happen, there was no way that they were going to take it nice. So what they did was they actually basically persecuted me. It was just hell on legs, for want of a better description. And I guess I could be referred to as a whistleblower within the context of what happened. So yeah, I was crucified is what I put it down to. So what I take on board basically from this animal medicine for the eagle to appear in my life at this point in time, it's, let go. You don't need to change who you are to accommodate the needs of some people. When we stand tall in our authenticity, when we remain true to who we are, eventually people will see the truth and they will have respect for you for being who you are and standing up for who you are. So ego has a certain amount of importance as part of putting a value on ourselves and having self-respect. But at the same time, to transcend ego, it is recognizing that we are more than this body. I am more than this body. I'm more than this brain, as are you. We are all spirits having a human experience. But the wedgie messages, anyway, there's too many to actually articulate on this video right here today. But I definitely do take on board the medicine information that comes through. One of them includes actually that I should be spending more time in the sun. And I thought, well, there's a truth to that as well. I do spend a lot of time outdoors, but I try and sit in the shade because, of course, here in Australia, we've got very harsh sunlight. But at the same time, we all need to have adequate vitamin D. And my body has tendencies to become low in vitamin D. And then the other part of the thing is that, by allowing ourselves to experience the sun and sunlight, we feel more connected to the universe. And for some reason, well, certainly I do. Okay, I've got to say I do. I'm one of these people that, at one point in time, I used to wonder if I was a sun worshipper when I was doing that inner awareness and getting to know myself. For me, sun is so important. I found the only way I can think to describe it is I spoke to an Irishman who was not long in Australia, and he said for him the sky amazed him when he came to Australia. He said in Ireland, he said sometimes the sky feels so low that you can put your hand out and you feel that you're touching the sky. He said yet when you're walking out in the open in Australia, you look up at the sky and it just feels so vast and enormous, and you feel like just a little dot on the landscape. Now there's a truth to that as well. But what I found, because I did live in the UK at one point in time, was that I felt deprived. If I couldn't see the blue skies and the sun in the sky, I felt like I couldn't breathe, and that a part of me was suffocating, shall we say. That's probably the best description for it. So as a persona, the sunlight is vital to me and my health and well-being. So I guess the idea is that I need to go and expose myself to the sun a little bit more, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea because I think I just about glow in the dark white at the moment with my skin. But anyway, enough of that waffle. Let's get on with the channel update. So in regard to the crystal playlist update, that is trucking along quite well. I'm quite happy with the way the content is coming together and the amount of work that I'm doing on it, because there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I am experiencing some technological issues though, besides the fact that getting images that are really good quality, and I keep revisiting this, is actually really difficult to do for the sake of videos. And this is because, one, copyright obviously is a concern, but also getting the images to clearly show colour, transparency, variations of the actual crystal structure, things like that. That's all very difficult to do as well. And then combine that with the fact that technology plays a bit of a pain in my backside at different times, and it certainly has this week. I've had to go out on a limb and set aside some more time in regard to creating the content. And this is largely to do with the shorts. I like to do the shorts because it's kind of a taste test. It brings it to your attention, or the viewer's attention, as to whether or not it's a crystal they might want to find a little bit more information about, or they might have some information themselves that they'd like to share. I would be so happy, honestly, if prospectors and rock hunters actually started contributing their views and experiences here on our videos, just as part of educating and informing people as well. But anyway, back to the shorts. The issue that I had was I was uploading them all and they were coming up looking dreadful. So I had to go and do some more artwork so that I could try and get variation. I had no control over how YouTube was loading them and what thumbnail YouTube was going to use. So that's created a little bit of extra time for me, but such is life. I'm not unhappy with the outcome of it and where we're at with it now. I'm not 100% convinced or set on the way that I'm approaching it now is going forward. There may actually be a change, but I'm going to try and test a few more things before I settle on this is my template and this is how I'm going to do it. But in the meantime, you will have seen, I hope, that I managed to get the Bornite videos up. And when we talk about Bornite, it's also known as peacock ore. So if you're into peacock ore, you will most likely like the full video on this. Peacock ore is kind of a blanket term. Obviously, it's not a mineral or a geological term. Anything with a rainbow to it seems to be called peacock ore. But there are 3 different types that I know of immediately offhand that are referred to as peacock ore, and one of them is Bornite. So anyway, I've put the Bornite video up and that's on the crystal playlist, so you'll be able to access that one. I was also able to get the Pryite one up. This is Pryite, of course, that you can see here. Pryite, honestly, is one of my favourite crystals, but it's got a range of powers to it that goes beyond the crystal. And, you know, there is that saying that, as we teach, we also learn. The teacher will learn from the student. Now, of course, nobody's particularly asking me these questions. I'm just going out on a little bit of a limb, sharing the information that I have already, and then sometimes I double check my information, and then other times I have a light bulb moment, which I did with the pyrite, and that raised questions for me. It provoked me or prompted me to go and do a bit more research, and it was like, oh, so what I realised, and you'll be able to see this in the video, is that pyrite's power doesn't just come from the actual mineral structure, but there's also an inclusion within some forms of pyrite that is connected with sacred numbers. Now, most of you, I would imagine, are aware that I'm right into numerology and sacred numbers, and that was a new thing for me. I hadn't actually realised that this was connected to pyrite, and so that was like, oh, maybe that's why I actually really like pyrite so much, is because it's not, I love crystals, let's be real, I don't want to minimise that, but it's not just about a crystal, it's about these other magical qualities that pyrite carries. So anyway, you'll find that video up already. It's published, okay? Feel free to go and look at it. So next week's video, I've still got to do the recording. I'll probably do that after this video once I've finished doing this recording. But next week we've got Celestite being loaded. Celestite is one of my most favourite crystals. I've got a lot of favourites. You're probably going to hear me saying that a lot, but it really is up there as one of the favourites. That and selenite. And I've got a lot of both celestite and selenite around the house, where some people will really fall in love with amethyst, which I really like amethyst too, I must admit. And I have a fair bit of that too, I suppose, if I think about it. But I have far more celestite and far more selenite. I just am so attracted to them. And I also use both of them when I do readings as well, as part of my opening, closing, and centering ceremonies, if you like. So that's just a little tidbit for you. But anyway, Celestite will be going up next week. You'll be able to access that. So I've done the transcript for Citrine as well. I've just got to record that. So I am having a few glitches with technology because I've changed providers and it's slowing things down a little bit. Certainly the downloads and uploads is a bit of a problem at the moment. But either way, I've done Citrine, and this will be published on Thursday. Now, Citrine is another very popular crystal for people, and I believe largely because it's associated with wealth, abundance, prosperity, money, all of that kind of thing, right? And there is that. But Citrine is a funny one for me, and that's because there's so many fakes out there, and I think perhaps I find that a little bit repelling. But what I do have, which is a favourite, and it's very hard for anybody to actually fake, up there as one of my most favourites as well, is smoky citrine. And I think I'm going to have to go and buy some more of that to add to my collection while I experiment again with crystals, to be able to give you guys information and feedback about my energetic experiences. But in the meantime, I welcome your own thoughts and comments as always. So, generally speaking, everybody gets excited when it's coming up to a new year. It's kind of like putting the past to bed and getting on to the new stage, the next stage and phase of our life and our journey. Now, within this context, the end of the year and the beginning of a new one actually energetically is a really exciting time, as are birthdays. There's a couple of times throughout the year where the energy is heightened, to be able to draw upon that energy and manifest. And one of them, of course, is to do with the angels. So this is a prime time of the year to start looking, reflecting on what we want the new year to hold for us, how we want to proceed, what we want to let go of, and what we want to hold on to. And so, the crystal content is one thing, angels is another thing, numerology is another thing. But let's talk about the angel energy, or what I will be doing, and I would encourage other people to do the same as we come to the close of this year and come into New Year. I just spent a whole heap of time waffling on this video, giving you information, and realised I hadn't pressed record. Such is life, probably not a bad thing. Okay, so when we talk about angels and connecting with angels, I said that, there are certain peak times of the year when we would actually try and integrate or incorporate angelic energy into our life, especially paving forward if we're looking to create positive future energy around us. Now, I've got a video on the angel playlist for Amarushaya. She's up there. I'm just reminding you that it's there and encouraging you to take a look at it, go through it. Everything is time stamped. You can jump forward to the bits you're interested in. You can ignore the bits you're not. If you find I go on a waffle, you can actually speed the video up so you don't have to sit through it and torture yourself or whatever. But either way, as we come into the new year, the best time to do a ritual with Amarushaya is actually on New Year's Eve. Now, I know ritual is a word that not everybody is comfortable with, but if you think of it like you go to church, if you're many of the churches actually, if not all of them, you can walk into a church and you can go and light a candle and say a little prayer. Well, this is what I mean by ritual. You kind of do the same thing when you're connecting with the angels, is you have a little ritual. We recommend bringing in the elements of earth, wind, which is air, fire, and what was the other one? Water. You know what I mean? So there's the elements that we bring in with this, and you can get more information on how to do a blessing ceremony, which is probably a more friendly name or term for ritual, and to connect with her so that you can maximize the potential and the energy going forward for next year. But it's something I will be looking at this. I'll create some space for myself. This is how I do it. And then I might start writing notes down. And then as it comes to the day, then I'm prepared for it. And I can just do my little ceremony then on New Year's Eve. That's the plan. And it doesn't need to take a lot of time. A ceremony only has to take a few minutes. It can take 10 minutes. It can take half an hour if that's what you're into, if you want to meditate and sit there through it. But we can always find time in some way, shape or form to actually pay attention to our spiritual and energetic health. So just a reminder, you'll find her on the Angel playlist. There are so many reasons why it's important to incorporate gratitude into our life, and probably the primary one, and I'll be quite honest here, I don't think there's anything wrong if your motivation for connecting with angels is actually a little bit selfish, you know? If I'm going to turn around and say to you, you can expect to have a lot more experiences in your life to be grateful for if you start practicing gratitude and you call upon Ooniemme. Even the most skeptical person would potentially turn around and go like, oh, what a load of cods or whatever, but you know, anything's worth a shot, right? Because I've had a tough time or whatever, and if you think that if I connect with this angel that I'm going to be more grateful throughout the next year and have lots of blessings upon me, well, then I'm willing to give it a shot. That is a perfect motivation for connecting with the angels, and they're not going to be offended by it. But what you will find, certainly what I found, is once I started doing the activities and taking the actions of connection, even though I was skeptical, I actually received what we call the blessings and the miracles of the angels. So my advice here, if you don't mind me giving it, is don't forget to use gratitude when you connect with any of the angels, and especially Amarushaya, because energetically what you're doing is creating that space for the energy to be more abundant to you, more kind, more loving, more abundant, and more happiness. So I would encourage you to connect with Ooniemme at the soonest, before you go into New Year as well. And you could potentially, when you're doing your blessing ceremony with Amarushaya, you could potentially put out to invite Ooniemme to be part of that activity as well. And of course, when I encourage people to connect with angels, I always say to them, and I say this to you as well, always the creator before the angels. So creator, guides, guardians, angels, actually, I'll leave it to your discretion. I'll just leave it with, start with the creator, God, whatever name you call them, and then angels of the highest good, light and love. Okay, that's my suggestion there. So before we close out for the day, I want to remind people that I've got the numerology playlist. And last year I created, obviously, the Numerology Forecast, the annual forecast. and then I did the monthly forecast. Well, what I've done, because we're coming into a new year and basically energy around numbers is fairly consistent. So what I've done is I've created a new video, or I'm in the process of it, which is the annual forecast. I probably actually might change. No, I'll leave it looking like this. I'll do a new one each year going forward. But basically, you just work out, and I give you the instructions what your personal year is, and then you can work out how to maximize the energy of your birth number with that year. So, where I'm going with this is I'll just update the actual annual forecast, and then when you go into I've created a new playlist. I should have mentioned that. And this one's called Annual Forecast, or whatever, Numerology Forecast. So what you would do is, if you're a birth number, you just go to the month, and a person that is in a personal year of X with a ruling number of X can expect to have. Now, as I've said in the past, all of my videos are time-stamped so that you can go to the specific area that you need. Now, I will review that playlist going forward, probably around about January, and just double check everything again and make sure that it's actually clear. But I'm becoming more comfortable, obviously, with using technology and creating and designing the videos. So that's why I thought it was timely to update, especially because we're coming into the new year. And if we want to maximize the potential of the numbers, it helps to get a head start on it. So you'll see this video go out, I would imagine, if not next week, the week after, just so that you've got a bit of insight before you go into January. So, my friends, as always, we've come to the end of another one-sided conversation from this end, I guess. And I would just like to say, look, thank you very much. Even if you're not talking to me or responding or saying hello or whatever, if you've made it to this part, I'm so glad that you're part of my journey, and thank you for actually hanging in there. In the meantime, I'm going to say good luck with some of those activities. I hope you find time to actually do them and incorporate the positive energy into your life so that we can have this wonderful 2025. Until next time, though, I'm just going to say, look, have a blessed day, blessed week. Take care of yourself. Love you, leave you. See you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.